Got a very cool Epiphone SG Standard here. Really like these. Standard is one of their higher end models with the 4 knobs. If you see the 2 knob model, those are usually the SG Special. But this is the SG Standard. It's got the vintage, like I think, 1961 style tuners on the back. And has the Epiphone, I believe these are called Pro Bucker pickups, which are supposed to be very similar to the Gibson style SG pickups. So got this on Marketplace. We are missing the high E string on there, no big deal. But we'll show you how to, or at least explain what all I'm going to do to clean this up. It's really not in bad shape. It's actually in very, very good shape. But I'll tell you how to clean it up and bring it up to showroom new, and how to do a setup as well, which is, of course, always an important task. And this style of bridge, a tune-o-matic bridge, is probably my favorite style of bridge. I really like tune-o-matics. They're very easy, and they're also very, very easy to set up. So if you have one of these or have any guitar, Les Pauls usually have tune-o-matics on them as well. No need at all, no reason whatsoever to take your guitar to a guitar tech unless it is in really bad shape for a setup. You definitely can do it yourself. Alrighty, so first things first, we're going to strip this down, take the bridge and tailpiece off. If it's really, really dirty, I take the knobs off too, but these knobs are in there pretty strong anyways. No real need to on this guitar. It's just in good shape. If it was, if this was really loose or something, we'd strip that out as well. I've already tested the pickups to make sure they work, and this pickup is like so high. They already work just fine, so we don't need to strip the electronics out. And then on the headstock, and it's just dirty and dusty. We'll see if it cleans up really well with no strings on it, then I don't even have to strip the tuning machines out. But if it's still really dirty or dusty or something and we need to re-wax the headstock and freshen that up, then we'll just pull the tuners out as well. But there you go. Here's the start, and show you the back. It's this really cool cherry red color and shows every fingerprint, even ones you didn't put on it. And painted neck, of course, and has the back plate. Thank God. All right. That is step 1. Strings are off, and we'll show you what we're going to use. So to clean the body, we use this Fender American Professional Guitar Polish. If you look at the ingredients on here on the back, it's literally just white mineral oil. There's nothing else in it. You can get white mineral oil wherever. The brand is irrelevant as long as it's in a spray bottle. I think you're good to go. And then for the fretboard, I always use Fast Fret, which hilariously enough is also white mineral oil. Tons of different oils you can use on fingerboards that people recommend. Just look up whatever the #1 recommendation is for whatever type of fingerboard you have. On these rosewood fingerboards, I've just used Fast Fret on all of them. It works really well. Let's get this all sprayed and cleaned up. Got the body all wiped down, nice and clean. And we're doing the fretboard, and I always like to show the difference between hydrated over here, hit with the Fast Fret, and what it was originally. So I haven't obviously gotten to those last 2 frets, but you can see just the extreme difference in the tone of that wood. All right, we'll get these last 2 frets, and headstock looked fine. It polished up just fine without taking the tuners out. So get these, and then we are just about ready to restring this thing. Fretboard is all finished. Lowered the height of both pickups, and I just dropped them down pretty low, and then once we actually get it strung up and everything, we'll fiddle with those, see if they need to be fixed. And then with any used guitar, I always like to check the actual neck alignment on the truss rod, and this is a terrible angle, but you can see it is fairly flat. Not too bad. I'll check this out in detail, just trying to give you an idea. But what we're looking for is the actual relief on the neck from the truss rod, and we want it to be either very, very flat or a tiny little gap. And you can kind of see there on frets 10 and 11, and looks like maybe 12 to 13 as well, a tiny, tiny little gap, and that means we have a good amount of relief. Now I always check it without the strings on first, just to kind of see what I'm looking at and what I'm going to be working with, and then we'll check it again once we get the strings on, because that'll add tension, of course, and the tension pulls the neck up. But we want just a little bit of a gap in there is kind of ideal, but it also does vary quite a bit guitar to guitar. Some guitars, they just play better with a perfectly straight neck. Some definitely need some relief. And it depends a little bit on your string gauges too. Heavier string gauge, more relief. But there you go. Very, very clean. And this thing is just about showroom new in that cherry red. Forgot to mention it before, but polished up the tailpiece and the bridge a little bit. They were in good shape anyways. I've showed you on other videos, if you really need to get in there and clean, like, you know, in all these grooves and everything for stuff in real bad shape, put it in a little hot water or warm water with dish soap for about 10 minutes and then take a toothbrush to it and you're fine. But those polished right up with white mineral oil, and we'll be slapping on some 10 to 46. That's what I put on every single guitar that I set up unless somebody requests something else. So that's my go-to gauge, and seems to be a fan favorite as well. Alrighty, let's get her strung up. On these tune-o-matics, I like to get the first string and the sixth string on first, just because, or not on tune-o-matics, on 3x3 headstocks, kind of keeps the rest of the strings out of the way. I think that's easier. But once I have, so now on tune-o-matics, once I've got these on there, I can kind of give a rough gauge of how far up we need to raise the actual bridge piece. And the tail piece I always leave just in the lowest position it can, unless I have some compelling reason not to. But we, where'd I put it? Oh, here it is. So I've got a little string action gauge thing. It's just cheap Chinese junk, but it works. So this, that's the size I usually use. Just tests where, you know, how high you want the strings, and if I can get it the correct way. We've got, oh, the glare is just miserable. But anyways, the sixth string, we want to run at 1.5 to 2 millimeters, and the first string at 1 to 1.5. And then there's our little gauge right down here. And that's just a starting point. So we'll fine tune it once we get the rest of the strings on. But while we just have 2 on, it's really easy to adjust that bridge. And that's what we're going to do now. All our strings on, and time to do kind of the more difficult setup tasks. So first thing, just look at pickup height, which is really, really, really low, comically low. But we'll push that up a little bit. So we need to raise this bridge pickup, and this thing just shows every little cat hair and fingerprint. We'll raise the neck pickup just a little bit as well. That one probably doesn't need too much work. And then we'll check out, now that we've got tension on here, now it's not strung up, not to pitch, although that actually kind of sounds cool. Reminds me of the Diablo 2 soundtrack. But anyways, we haven't tuned it to pitch or anything, but we've got plenty of tension on there, so we can check our string height with our string height gauge, our string action ruler. So we'll check out our string height and get it set to the correct string height just by turning these screws. And we will again check our neck and our relief on our truss rod with our little straight edge thinger, whatever that is, and make sure we're all, you know, exactly where we want it. And again, on the action on our sixth string, and we measure at the 12th fret, I like it between kind of just a notch above 1.5 millimeters, and then on the first string, kind of a notch above 1, so probably like 1.1 to 1.6. That's just where I like it. Personally, for my style, I play heavy, I play metal more than anything else, and bluegrass too. I kind of like higher action on bluegrass because it's just so fast, so I'm kind of digging in with the pick all the time. I like my action probably 5 to 10% higher than most people would. That's just my personal preference. But again, you can really fine tune the action on these tune-o-matic bridges just with these 2 screws. It's very easy to do. And this setting it up, like with the ruler here, setting it up to the 1st and the 6th string at the 12th fret is a starting point. So I set it up there. I let the guitar rest for a little bit, which I don't know if you really need to, but I always do. I always like let it rest for like an hour or something like that after I give it the first setup, and then I play it a bunch and I just kind of gauge it by feel. Does it feel like the action's too high? Then we just lower it down a tiny, tiny little bit. Does it feel too low? We raise it up a little bit. So really easy, and a lot of it is going to be personal preference to whatever style that you're playing. And I know a lot of people, they like it super, super low, and that's just not me. I just like it just a tiny, tiny bit higher than normal, I think. But there you have it. So very, very simple. So we will check out the neck relief, and we will check out the string height and make sure those are perfect, and then tune her up to pitch and let it sit for a little bit and then play it. All right, we had the results. So I had the action way too high on both sides of the board. So we got that lowered down. So we're right pretty much where I wanted, about 1.1 up to about 1.6 on the 6th string. Double check the neck relief, and it has just the tiniest little bit of relief right in the middle around the 10th fret or so, which is perfect. So that's what we like. And this guitar is in good shape. So if this was, sitting in a garage for a long time or something, it probably wouldn't be this easy to do the setup and would require a lot more work. But this one was in good shape to begin with. So this is what I expected. I didn't think it would be a difficult job by any means. But we are ready to go to set her up with tune to pitch. And then I'll show you how to do the rest of the tune-o-matic bridge for intonation. And people ask me, I actually probably get this question more often than any other guitar question: which direction should the bridge face? So if you go into any guitar store, and well, actually, I'll check one of my other tune-o-matic bridges. So we'll go in the studio here, turn the light on, and check some other tune-o-matic bridges. So we've got on the Reverend, screws facing up. I have on my SG, screws facing up. More tune-o-matics. Here we go. We have screws facing down on the Dean ML. And that's all the tune-o-matics on that side. We have on the Gibson, screws facing down. So there you have it. 50-50. Nice shot of the wall there too. I have those 4 tune-o-matic bridges of mine, 2 with the screws facing up, just like on this one, and 2 with the screws facing back. It does not matter. It just doesn't. And you can find all sorts of people playing, professionally that have their bridges either way. It is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is, can you access the screws? On some guitars, usually based on kind of the pickup and the tailpiece orientation and how far apart everything is spaced. Some guitars, it's just easier to access them from the back. Some it's easier to access from the front. Personally, I think it looks better to have them on the back. I just like that look, but that's me. If you don't, you don't, and it doesn't matter. It is irrelevant. So we will be adjusting these saddles here to get the intonation, and these are the intonation screws. And to do that, it's really, really easy, and you can find tons of videos online to do it. Tune it up to pitch with fresh strings, let it sit for a while, play it a bit, tune it up to pitch again. They're going to go out of tune a lot when they're really fresh, and give them a little stretch. Don't break them, but give them a stretch once you tune them to pitch. Do this a couple times, every 15 minutes or something like that. Really get them set in, especially when you don't have locking tuners. It can help stretch them out. But tune it up to pitch, give them some stretches and everything. Do that 2 or 3 times, play on it for a day or whatever, and then go to intonate. And my phone cut out on me there. What I was saying, to actually do the intonation, once you've gone through at least a few hours of play it a little bit and retune to pitch to get these strings locked in. Play it at the 12th fret with your tuner on there and tune using just these, not your actual tuning machines. So play it at the 12th fret, and that should be an E. 12 frets were 1 octave above the open note. And then get your little screwdriver in there. It's a tight fit, very small screwdriver, and that moves these saddles. And the saddle pieces moves them back and forth, and that sets your intonation. And typically what I always recommend is you don't need to mess with your intonation on the saddles unless either you can hear that it's out when you're playing, like solo-y stuff or whatever up real high, and you can actually hear that it's out, go ahead and fix it. Other than that, for regular maintenance, unless you're switching gauges, so these are 10 to 46, if you're going to, like the 9 to 54 Mark Mortons, which I actually really like, by the way. If you're going to those, yeah, you're going to need to change your intonation and whatnot. But switching string gauge majorly, or other than that, just once a year, just check your intonation. Some guitars the intonation will go out a lot quicker than others. Most of mine, it's never really a big problem for me. Once you get it set pretty good, just kind of check it, once a year or something like that, and you are fine. So that's what we're going to do. We will tune this up to pitch, stretch out the strings a little bit, play on it a little bit, let it relax, let it kind of calm down and whatever, and the strings, they'll go out of tune because they're brand new. And we'll do that 2 or 3 times over the course of today. And then once I feel like they've gotten pretty locked in, I'll get the pickup height set on both of these right where I want it, and then we'll intonate it and we'll play it and demo it for you. Back with the SG, got it all cleaned up, looking nice and shiny. Pretty close to showroom new. It's a little bit of scuff on the pick guard, but really not much at all. And back looking real reflective. These high gloss finishes, man. Plays pretty well. Got it turned off right now. Also forgot to mention on a lot of the guitars, especially if I get in really damaged ones, like they've been in a garage forever, fret rocker is your friend. You can use it like a credit card too, but these are dirt cheap. I paid like $2 for this, and all you do is to find high frets, rock it back and forth. As long as you're over 3 of them, that's why it's got different length sides. But anyways, kind of usually a part of the process when I'm setting up a guitar, especially really bad, like really old one. I use the fret rocker a lot, but bridge position sounds pretty good, clean combo. Combo sounds really nice. I've always liked the combo position on SGs. I really like it on my SG, which is right there. You can kind of see it right there. I think it sounds pretty good. And this is just through the Spark 40. So nothing fancy, no pedals. These are all hardware presets. That's how I always demo this stuff. So if you guys want to make these exact tones, it is wildly easy. Tons of people have a Spark 40. If you don't have a Spark 40 by now, highly recommended. All right, neck position. That was pretty good. All right, back to the bridge, and we'll play a little heavier. And I can already kind of hear the strings are going. I'm not going to retune. Strings are already going out of tune a little bit already, just because they're so new, brand new today. Obviously, it just takes a couple days. It also was like 65 degrees earlier today, and now it's snowing. Love that. So it's, the weather changing, humidity changing, brand new strings. They're just not going to stay in tune very well. And you'll probably be able to hear that on this video. Put a little reverb on there. Really need to turn down the noise gate on that patch, but I didn't. Ooh. Back to just straight metal. Listening to a ton of the Agonists today. I had to drive for like 5 hours and cruise their whole discography. So that song's been stuck in my head. It's a great one. Killer. All-time favorite drop D riff. That's just a blast to play. If you don't know any Deftones, or actually the version of it I really like is the cover by Earth Groans. Definitely shout out Earth Groans. Hell of a band.